Hi there, this is Patricia from patriciafenty.com, and today I have a tutorial on how to crochet and make this really beautiful scarf. Now this is a tutorial that I'm actually republishing, and the reason for that is when I made this scarf with this particular granny square pattern, it turned out that this granny square pattern had a copyright claim on it. I had never heard of the artist who had this design copywritten, but she did have a book and it was published, and I looked at it, and in fact it was the exact same pattern. So I had to take down the tutorial for the square and the tutorial for the scarf. But it seems such a shame because it's such a beautiful scarf, and of course this scarf tutorial is totally my own design for sure. And this can be made using any square motif that you like. So I wanted to republish it using a different square design. So what I've done is I've reworked this square design so that it's different. You can see that it's a different design. It's similar, but it is different, and hopefully no one's created a design like this. It's so hard when you're creating designs like this because, you know, there's really sort of only so many ways you can make a circle and then turn it into a square. So anyways, yeah, so I've reworked this granny square, which is the one we'll be using in the design. So here I'll talk about the supplies for this tutorial, and then from here on then, everything that I refer to for this design, you're going to be using this design here. And all the links will be in the blog post in the description box below. So let's get started. Now the supplies that you'll need for this tutorial to make this scarf is an assortment of number 4 medium weight yarns. You can use any yarn you like. You can use any color combination you like. I do talk about the colors that I use in this tutorial here on how to crochet the actual granny square, which is in a separate tutorial. I put a link to that below. And just to review, so the pink here is a Bernat satin in my tie. This is Bernat satin in Stardust. This is a Canadiana red that's no longer made. I got this at a thrift store, but any red color would be fine. The yellow is a Peyton's Canadiana, which is Fool's Gold, and this is also Peyton's Canadiana in medium teal. Now the color, this color green here, I don't actually have that anymore, but this green was a Cascade Yarns Anthem number 44. So yes, these are all number 4 medium weight yarns. Now to do the border, I really wanted this to be in a denim color, and I couldn't actually find a denim color in any of these brands, in any of these weights, and I ended up finding this. This is a Barocco Vintage DK yarn. The color number is 2174, and this is actually a slightly lighter weight yarn that's called a number 3 light yarn. It actually works. So, you know, I use that even though the yarn weights aren't exactly the same. So, you know, whatever color you want to do for your border, you can pick any neutral tone that you like. I thought the denim looked really cool, but you could do this like in black or cream color or tan color maybe even. You can just play around with some different colors. And yeah, so, and then you'll need a number 4 or G6 hook. You'll need some scissors and a darning needle. I'm going to need 12 granny squares all together for this project, and because I'm using 6 different colors and there's just 5 rounds each, I'm making sure to have 2 squares each with an outside color that's the same, so 2 yellow, 2 green, 2 teal, 2 red, so forth. I don't have all the squares here. So that's a way you can kind of balance your colors. And when you think about the colors, you want to sort of pay attention to how you're creating your colors in each square. So you want to be mindful that, say, you're not putting 2 squares side by side where you have 2 rounds that have the same color in the same round. You want to sort of mix them up as you go. And then in this color palette, I have sort of lighter colors, which are the lavender, the pink, and the yellow. And then I have darker colors, which are the red, the green, and the teal. And so when I lay them out, I'm doing a light color, dark, a light, a dark. So I'm alternating the tones so I don't have a lot of dark tones together or a lot of light tones together. Now, if you find color a little bit intimidating, you could always pick just one color combination, and like this one here, and then make all the squares in just the same color combination. And that would look really nice too. And maybe you'd like something like this. You could do 12 just like this. So you could do that as well. So there you go. Next, we're going to join them together. All right, we're going to be joining the squares together using what I call a visible whip stitch. I don't know what the proper name of it is, but essentially we're going to be doing a whip stitch just into the top post, like the back post or top post of each square. Some people, when they do whip stitching, they'll pick up both posts, or they might pick up the front post. But if you pick up the back post, what it does is it creates this really nice ridge because it leaves your front post on each side showing, and it gives it a nice little frame, and I think that looks really nice. So that's how we're going to join. So again, you're going to need 12 squares all together, and you use the color that you're going to do your border in. You're going to use that to join your squares together with. So I'm using the denim blue. And you want to cut a piece that's about 2.5 times the width of your square. And you can darn that onto your needle. And you want to put your granny squares wrong sides together. And you can tell the wrong side because the wrong side is where you darned in all your ends. But the stitches are a little bit more round and curly on the back than they are on the front. The front is sort of more flat and smooth. So putting your squares wrong sides together, you can start by threading your needle in through the back, start your darning, and pull that through and leave a tail in so I can darn that back in later. And you're going to start by joining in the corners, and this can be a little bit tricky and you might not get it quite right the first time, but you can just undo it and do it again. You'd think if you have a chain 2 in the corner that you would start in the second chain, but you want to actually start in the first chain. And the reason for that is the yarn sort of pulls to the left. So we want to start in the back post of the first chain of your chain 2 space. So that's the one on the right hand side. So come in through the back post and just the one top post. And then you pick up your square, and then the next square, you're not going to go into that first stitch, you're actually going to go into the second one. And you go in from the top of that, and then as you bring the needle through, you're going to pick up going in from the bottom of the next stitch there. Just like that. And then you're going to come in from the back of the next square and bring it in underneath the stitch of the front square, and just like that. And you're going to do that again, and you're just going to stitch all the way along, picking up the corresponding stitches. And you want to snug these up at a reasonable tension. You don't want them to be too tight, you don't want them to be too loose. You kind of want the Goldilocks tension. So, and you'll get a feel for this. And if you don't get it quite right the first time, you can just practice. So I'm just going to speed it up here, and so you can see how the stitches are lining up, and they're all side by side, and it's quite easy to join in this way. So now I'm coming into the corner here, and I can see that I'm going into the chain 1 coming out of this corner that I'm going to go into, and going into the chain 1 going into this corner here. And then you can open it up just like that, and you can see how nice that looks. And then You just want to bring your yarn into the back of your work, so you can just go back into that stitch in that corner there to bring your yarn to the back. You can go into the next stitch too if that lines up properly, and then just flip it over. And you want to very gently darn your ends in because it's easy for the yarn to show on the other side. So I'll just, again, speed this up here again. So just going in gently, kind of pulling it back, laying it flat, coming back through the pink, and then you can trim that off. And so you darn in the end on the other side, and that's how you join your squares. So go ahead and do that with all 12 squares, and when you get back, we'll start crocheting the border. Welcome back. So I've joined all my squares together, and that wasn't so hard to do. It went pretty quickly. And if you come to a corner and it looks like you have the chain 2 space and you haven't worked into that stitch, it's fine. What you're looking for is to join them together nicely. And if it's a little bit off there, you won't see that in the whole scheme of things. So yeah, what you're going to want to do now is we're going to join on with the border color. So of course I'm using this number 3 weight yarn, which is a finer weight yarn. I'm still going to use the 4mm crochet hook because I am going to adjust my tension, because I want to make sure that I'm crocheting the 3 double crochet clusters in the same size, so to speak. I don't want the stitches to be smaller. So as I said earlier, to use a color to go around here, you want the yarn to be at least the same weight as your granny squares or a little bit lighter. Don't use a heavier weight yarn. So we'll start with a slip knot. Now I'm using this denim blue color. I know it looks really close to the teal, but in real life it's quite a different color. It's more of a denim blue than the teal blue. And so I think the denim blue is going to look fabulous. But you can use any neutral color. You could use tan or gray or black. Would look really fabulous. So it's totally up to you. So you want to join on into any chain 1 space with a slip knot, with a slip stitch. So you flip your tail over and just join on with a slip stitch, just as always. And then do a chain 3, and this counts as your first double crochet. And then you'll do 2 double crochets into that same chain 1 space, and that'll complete your first 3 double crochet cluster. And then chain 1 and do a set of 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. And you're just going to do this all the way around, crocheting a set of 3 double crochets and a chain 1 and into each chain 1 space. So now when you come to the corners here, these chain 2 spaces, you're going into the chain 2 space, treating it just like a chain 1 space. So another set of 3 double crochets. And a chain 1. And see, I'm doing these stitches very loose. I'm crocheting very loose because I'm using a fine yarn. So a chain 1 and just go into that next corner, that chain 2 space with a set of 3 double crochets. So go ahead and do these sets of 3 double crochets all the way along the straight edge, and I'll see you in the first corner. So here I am. I've come to the first corner here into a chain 2 space. So this is just a regular granny square corner that you would do for any granny square. So I finished my cluster and my chain 1. So I'm going into the chain 2 space. We'll do a set of 3 double crochets. And that's 3. And then chain 2 to make your corner. and then another set of 3 double crochets into that same chain 2 space. And then you're just going to work each corner in the same way, and you'll do that all the way around. Come out of the corner with a chain 1 and carry on with your sets of 3 double crochet clusters in all of your chain 1 spaces with the chain 1 in between. So go ahead and do that. Work your way all the way around the scarf, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. So you can see with your own project how nicely this is coming along and how the color unifies the scarf and makes it very cohesive. So I've come all the way around and I've done my last set of 3 double crochets and chain 1. Now we'll do our final row, and we'll join this round with a slip stitch underneath the 2 posts of your beginning chain 3, picking up both posts, and just join this with a slip stitch, and just like that. Now you'll do a chain 1. So you joined into that 3rd chain, so going into the 1st stitch after that, going under both posts, you're going to work a single crochet. And then into the next stitch, you'll do a single crochet. And then coming into the chain 1 space, it's totally up to you. Some people just work the stitch into the chain 1 space. I like to stay in the posts. So I'm going to pick up the 2 posts of that chain 1 with my single crochet. So you're just going to work a single crochet into the top of each stitch all the way around, and I'll see you in your first corner and show you how we're going to put this really beautiful pattern on the end of the scarf. All right. So coming into the corner here, into your chain 2 space, I'm just going to do my last single crochet coming into the corner. So do 2 single crochets into your chain 2 space. And then we're going to start working a shell pattern along the ends here. And we're going to work it into the end of each cluster. So what you'll do is 5 double crochets. You'll skip 1 stitch, and into the 2nd stitch you're going to do 5 double crochets. And this is how we'll create a really pretty shell pattern. And that's 4 and 5, and then you'll do a single crochet into the chain 1 space, and that'll bring your shell down just like that. And then you'll skip a stitch and work another set of 5 double crochets into that next stitch. And I just speed it up here, and then you do a single crochet into your chain 1 space, skip a stitch, do 5 double crochets into the next stitch, single crochet into the chain 1 space, skip a stitch, 5 double crochets into the next stitch, single crochet into the chain 1 space, and you're going to do that all the way along until you get to the other end. And I've got 1 more to do here, and you'll be at the next corner. And now you bring this shell down into the chain 2 space with 1 single crochet, and then 1 more single crochet into that chain 2 space. And then you're just going to carry on going around doing your single crochets into the top of each stitch all along your straight edge. And then when you get to the other side, you can do your this pattern, and you can rewind this and watch it again and do your end in the same way, and see how pretty that is. I think that looks so pretty. So go ahead, work your way along your long side, work your other end, and come around, and I'll see you at the other side. All right, so here I've come all the way around and I just have this chain one here. So I'm doing my last single crochet into the top post of that chain one. And then you're going to join on with a slip stitch into that beginning chain one and going under both posts and just do a slip stitch. Now, because this is an outside edge, I'm not going to do a chain one to fasten off. I'm just going to cut my end and pull that through and then gently darn that in and make a nice smooth edge. So go ahead and darn your tails in, and then you want to block this. I'm just going to zoom out here a little bit so you can see this better. Where's my zoom? There we go. So you can block it either by washing it in cold water and laying it flat and hand pressing it. And the other thing you can do is steam it if you have a steamer. But don't try to make it square because the shape of the motifs gives you a little bit of a curve, and that's part of the design. So I'm going to darn in my tail ends, I'm going to steam, and I'll be right back. All right, here we are all done. I gave that a nice little steam. And don't the scallop edges look so nice? I think that looks fabulous. And so I'll just sort of slide it along here so you can see some of the different color motifs that I used for all the squares. Now these look like they're the same, but they're on the opposite side of your neck. And that'll wrap around, and so you can just see all the different motifs here. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and it's such a fun and pretty scarf. So please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more creative and inspiring videos. Thank you for joining me.